if you bleed like one. You call the shots, but that's all you got. I'm gonna call your bluff, cause something happens when you fan the flames. I'm like an animal inside a cage, but
Meepo is a fabulous electric skateboard company. They're pretty cool. They're pretty innovative. They do a lot of things with their boards. They try to make new things, and they listen to their customers too, which is a pretty cool thing. And they do seek out everything. I mean, recently they were at CES making this pretty cool boards. They just keep innovating. They keep doing more and more with their company. Something like what we all do in our daily lives is like we try to do more and more things to make everything else convenient. Recently, I just got the Meepo Flow. It's a fantastic board. I love it. It's amazing, and it just really carves well. The size, the weight. The weight is something else, but I'll get to that in a little bit. So here are the things that I actually try to upgrade or update, probably just to make it a little bit more convenient to use. And we'll see how that goes. Let's see what you think. First off, protective gear. I'm sorry, but I do have to do this first, to make it YouTube friendly. But of course, safety first. So I have to get this out of the way first in order for us to continue on with the video. But don't worry, this is just gonna be a quick one. Just a quick one with all of these accessories. And of course, you always have to wear your helmet. I mean, it doesn't matter which one, as long as it is a dot kind of helmet to protect your head, protect everything that you need for your head. I mean, skateboards, they can seriously injure you. Bikes, they can also as well hurt you as well. So anything can happen, no matter, even if you're like a pro skateboarder, they do still make mistakes. And of course, accidents do happen, so of course a helmet is needed, pads if you want. And another thing, a reflective jacket. I mean, the more stupid you're gonna look, the more you're gonna get noticed. In a good way, of course, because you're out in the open trying to do some skateboarding or biking, whatever, outdoors. To make sure you're totally bright, orange, and ready to go, set off into the world and to explore with your Meepo. Well, speaking of safety, I've recently got the headlights and the taillights from Amazon. It's a pretty cool device. It's really cheap, and it's really good to invest. And this is something where you would use at night. If ever you were to ride your skateboard at night, I wouldn't recommend you do so because, night you have less visibility. Hence the why I got headlights. Headlights and taillights so that you can always see where you're running? Where you can always see where you ride your skateboard. English. Sorry, I'm Filipino and I kind of speak two languages, but I just don't know which one I'm more fluent at. It's either English or Tagalog or English, I don't know, but sometimes I do get problems with language. But I'm sorry. About the headlights is that you get to see where you're actually going. Make sure there's no cracks and pebbles, just in case you don't get those wobbles. So that's very important to see. These headlights and taillights are, they come with a rubber attachment to go around your bike to a pole, but I just simply use like Velcro. I mean, it's pretty strong so far, and I can just attach and detach these so I can charge them and so on, and they can just charge via USB-C, which is a good thing. As you noticed earlier, I did use the full face helmet because I'm here in Florida and it's cold. It is cold here in Florida. I mean, I live here in Florida and I'm supposed to be in heat. I don't know, I like the cold, but it's pretty cool. But there's a reason why I partly, half my life grew up in the Philippines and stayed in the heat. Now it's cold. All that wind gush through my face, I didn't want to deal with that. The other thing is taking care of your board. Make sure you take care of your board, you clean it, you fix it, you tighten it up or loosen it up. I mean, the belts, especially the belts, you can't make them really, really tight. Just make them loose a little bit so it'll last longer. So the better maintenance you give to your board, the longer it'll last you for. Recently, I just got the dasher guard right here to protect the nose to avoid chips, because this thing is powerful and it really will run very fast if you use the remote just by itself. It will leave you. It will launch towards something, and of course you want to avoid that. You want to avoid, getting your board chipped, because replacing or changing a board is more hectic than it usually is. I mean, if you do have it, once you get that chip, it'll start moving and moving until it crosses the entire board. So make sure that this thing is protected right here. And the other thing about it is the abrasive cleaning stick. That is gonna last you a while, because I got the brick that is like this long right here. Once you clean it once, you're just gonna see a small amount of residue onto the stick. Every time your grip tape is clean, it'll have more grip and it'll last longer. So make sure every time you use it, or after whenever you're done with using your board, make sure to clean it every time. And of course, a cloth. So you just wipe it down, whatever it's wet or dusty, or even just sand, simple. Use a simple cloth. Unfortunately, for electric skateboards, they are pretty much difficult to transport. Next thing is transportation. Comes with a very touchy subject when it comes to airplanes. Airport, TSA, electric skateboards. That's a very touchy restriction law that's been going out now. I mean, because these batteries, lithium batteries, can explode if not dealt with properly. So just take it by precautions. I mean, first off, call the airlines first. But for additional information about these is that most or a lot of airports do accept 100 watt per hour batteries and below. Anything higher than that, they would not allow. The Meepo Flow is around 360, I think. 360 watt per hour of a lithium battery. So that is too high, very high. Not even if you detach the battery and then put it, in a hand carry or put it in a check-in, which we should not, that's still not allowed. So none of that is allowed. And not unless if you want to just bring your Meepo Flow board without the battery. It's not going to be electric anymore. So, all in all, for this kind of skateboard, it's sad to say that it's not going to be seeing inside of an airplane. So that's just the sucky thing about, electric skateboards these days. It's starting to rain and weather's pretty bad right now. Well, let's get some shelter first. All right, home sweet home for the meantime. These other two things were kind of like something with convenience towards transportation, because this thing is heavy. It is heavy and it is awkward to bring, for sure it is, because it's it has a massive battery on it. So of course, the bigger the battery, the heavier it is. I've had the Meepo V3. It's a pretty good board. And the thing about Meepo with that V3 is that it had a hole on the side for a make handle for it to bring. So that was a cool thing back then with that Meepo V3, because you could just carry it and go on with your day with just one hand. It was heavy, but the Meepo Flow is heavier, definitely. So I kind of miss that. I kind of miss having that handle on the side where you could just bring it on. I just bought to handle, like handle grips. It's actually for a Jeep where you would just hang on, because you know those Jeeps that doesn't have like those not the convertible, but the skeleton types of things. I don't know, I'm not a Jeep expert, but you use that handle to attach onto the bars, and that's where the passenger or the driver or whoever can hang on to that handle. So I got one of those, and those were fairly cheap too. Those were not bad of a price too. So went ahead and bought it, and you know, this is what I did. You know, I unscrewed these top screws on the top of the board, and I was thinking maybe if I can squeeze it in between the battery and the board. I tried that, but I was kind of hesitant because, you know, it would leave a gap between the board and the battery, and that would cause problems probably. Because especially with water, especially with dust and dirt and all that things, and it can go inside. So I had to scratch off that idea with between the battery and the board, of course. So next thing was to be on top. I unscrewed 2 of the bolts, you know, for a fair distance, and you know, I cut holes on the very end of those handles, and then I just popped it in with a washer, and there you go. A handle. That's checked 1. Now I have a proper handle for me to bring along. It's still heavy, and it's still kind of awkward, but it's better without. The other thing is for the remote. The remote, it's pretty cool where it has straps or something, whatever it's called, attached to the remote, you know, where you could just attach it to your wrist. That's a cool thing, sure, but how to make it better? Because the one problem I had with that kind of remote, I'm done with using the skateboard, or I have to jump off, or I have to do this and carry the awkward Santa board. The remote would just dangle, and sometimes it would just hit the board, it would hit the grip tape, and then it would scratch up the remote, and so on and so on. Or if I'm just doing something random, like in the grocery store, and I brought my skateboard with the remote would just hit everything, because, you know, you just keep on grabbing some stuff, and then it just dings on something, and I don't want to break anything, or the remote neither. So what I thought about was the retractable ID lanyard. That one. This kind. I got the one where it has a carabiner at the end of it, so I could just hook it onto my, you know, to my pants, shorts, or my backpack, wherever it's hooked onto, and I could just use that, you know, stretch it out, use it. When I'm not using it, just let it go. It'll just retract. So that's a cool thing where, you know, it's not in the way, but then it's still accessible for me to use. So that's a good thing to use for the remote. Yeah, there's a tip for you. There you go. And of course, the last but not least is, you know, the emergency pack. The emergency pack is technically for emergencies, of course. I do have the drop leg bag, and that's where I keep the remote. That's where I attach the remote to, where it just drops on your leg, so it just stays there. And that's where I keep, you know, my spare tools, the extra belt, plus my cell phone, plus my wallet, plus my keys, plus, you know, everything else that's needed that's, you know, off my body. So if ever I do bail, I wouldn't, you know, crush my cell phone or land on my keys or anything like that. So that's just basically it. I mean, just to make sure to take care of your board as much as you can, and and how to do these things convenient, especially with the handle and the retractable ID lanyard for the remote. Then of course, whenever you're gonna get a skateboard, an electric skateboard, be careful, but also have fun. There's nothing else that I could think of, because, you know, I've been using this board, you know, for a while now, and out of convenience, these are the only things that I could think of. What do you think? Do you have any ideas for it? It'd be just good to know, you know. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for subscribing. Yeah, thank you for that. It would definitely mean a lot. Thank you for that. And I'll catch you guys in the next video, okay? Bye. I think it stopped raining. Yeah, it stopped raining. I think it did. Well, let's go.